Good afternoon, guys, and welcome to the podcast. Live from New York City, I've got Emmanuel Kalashnikov. He's founder and head of product growth at Eclectic. We're going to hear about all what he does. He's heavily involved in the advertising, Google, SEO, search, pay-per-click marketing, digital marketing space. I'm really happy to have him on to share his wisdom and expertise. So, Emmanuel, welcome.
Awesome. Thank you, Christopher. That was a very awesome intro. Happy to be here. Thanks
Yeah.
for having me.
Yeah. Briefly introduce yourself, and I'm really excited to dive into the conversation and questions.
Sure. So yeah, I'm the founder and head of growth at Eclectic. We're a digital marketing agency / dev house. So we do your host of PPC, paid ads, SEO, conversion rate optimization, as well as another arm of the business is building websites and developing applications, mobile applications for businesses.
Yeah. And talk about how you got started in this business and what inspired and motivated you to go into it.
Wow. So that is actually almost, I would say, yeah, starting from 2018 is where this journey started. And what motivated me was, honestly, I was heading in a completely different direction. I left the United States, left my job, lived abroad, was working for a firm with my uncle, and he does international trade financing. So like major deals for a lot of like commodities deals and things of that nature, funding projects overseas. And my job was supposed to be like a sales position and client management, sales. And in the day to day, watching these $100 million deals be closed, and something hit me. I actually had a book on hand that a buddy of mine gave me. It was a book by, I don't know if Gary Vaynerchuk, Crushing It. So something about that book just intrigued me to get more into marketing, because the way he like just positioned the whole, how anyone can pick up anything nowadays and the way that they market themselves. And if they're really passionate about it and are gung-ho and 110%, then they can make something out of it. So I figured, why not do my own venture? Let me give a crack at it. It motivated me enough to move back to the States, start up my own company. It was a different venture at a time. It was a different company altogether, which then merged with I had a partner shortly after starting my initial venture. We merged together, had it was a digital marketing / media house. So my partner would do a lot of the media content, the photography, the videos, like the promotional videos and stuff like that. And I would handle a lot of the paid advertising. So that was the synergy that we had. Shortly after, about a year in or a little bit more, we decided to part ways, and I started up Eclectic. So that was in the year 2021. And yeah, this is where we are now. It's pretty much working from anyone from startups to global brands to local service pros, you name it. We help them get more customers, get more business growth, and build out applications and websites as well.
Yeah, fantastic story. And diving into the questions, one thing that's really interesting is this whole conversation today with you is going to be about maximizing your ROI. And I talk to a lot of digital marketers. One thing they say is your business can produce better returns than any like stock and then investing in yourself, investing in social media. How do you talk about how to double your ROI without spending $1 more? How do you do that?
The quickest way to do it is if you already have traffic coming to your site and you already are making money with a validated product or service, then I would really look into your conversion rates. Like, how is your website converting people from a visitor into a buyer or a lead? That's the first place I would look at and analyze to see what's the conversion rate like, and then implement different things. And maybe the structure needs to change, right? What's the customer journey looking like? Like, how are people going through the pages of your site? What really makes them tick and make that buying decision with you? Is it a headline? Is it the way the button is positioned? It's a ton of different elements that ultimately trigger those psychological pain points in a person's brain to want to take action and take the next step with a brand or a business or whoever.
Yeah, I really love that. And so the next question I have for you is in this area of where do you see Google search going? Because AI is coming on in ChatGPT, and where do you see search playing a role in this whole area?
Google search, I gotta say, it's definitely becoming more and more expensive to advertise on Google. And Google knows that their channel is the channel that has one of the highest buying intents out there. Because if you're searching for something, then you're ready to buy. It's not like you're on Facebook scrolling through like cat videos or your grandma's page wishing her happy birthday, and then you get a ad that you see, and you're not really in buying mode. If you're on the search engine, you're ready to buy. So they understand that. A lot of other brands have understood that as well, more and more year over year, because we could see there's definitely a compounding effect in terms of just the saturation of advertisers and ad budgets just going up on the digital side, and also the demand. First of all, the demand also for a lot of people. There's a lot more people on search and everywhere. There's a lot more eyeballs since COVID online, but there's also a lot more advertisers on search as well. So that's driving up the cost through the roof. AI, of course, AI is just making people crank out a lot more creative and ad copy much faster. And there's a lot more room for A/B testing and a lot more variations being cranked out than ever before. The way I see it happening is yes, Google is leaning more towards an automated and autonomous like advertising platform and slowly stripping away control from advertisers. Because at the end of the day, they're in the business to make money. But I would say if you're an advertiser, then always opt to have the most manual control over your ad strategy as possible. You don't want to give the reins completely to Google because in their letter to shareholders, if you've ever read Google's letter to shareholders, they state there specifically that every single product they roll out is initially always going to be like in a testing phase, and they might just pull the plug without giving you any kind of warning. So that just goes to show you that everything's in testing mode. They gather the feedback, and then if it's a successful product, they keep it. If it gets a lot of negative backlash, then they're going to do a rug pull. But I think there's so much happening with AI that nobody really knows what's going to happen. We're just professional spectators and speculators at this point. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see in the next 5 years for sure. It's evolving at a rapid pace.
Yeah. The next question I have for you, because I'm always looking for the areas of undiscovered attention and where you could potentially make a mark. So if people wanted to build a brand in a certain platform or space to attract advertisers, what would that be?
I would say two interesting platforms that I have started to pay attention to are X and Reddit. So these seem to be like areas that are like the underdogs right now. Reddit is merging with Google's, meaning they're partnering, and there's a lot of Reddit results are going to be shown top of page, or those results are going to be sourced for like an AI generation by Google for a lot of informational queries and things like that.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people are flocking to get their questions answered. Reddit, and then also Twitter, because it's like an independent news source. So a lot more people are becoming free thinking rather than using the big monopolized channels that are out there, which is Google and Meta right now. They pretty much rule the internet. Google's got 98% of search share on the internet. It's insane.
Yeah.
And then also people, I don't know how this would work, but there's also channels like Perplexity, which is an AI search engine. I'm not sure what kind of ads they might roll out later on, because they're going to need to monetize outside of like the actual subscription model that they offer now. That could be interesting. Not sure, but yeah, that would be something I would monitor closely.
Yeah. The other question I had, that's really interesting, Reddit. What are your thoughts on Snapchat and Pinterest. And
So
TikTok, I'm sorry, Tumblr too.
Tumblr,
Yeah.
wow, Tumblr. I haven't been on Tumblr in probably since high school. That's a while. Snapchat, also, I would say Snapchat has just turned into a very wild platform for myself personally. I haven't used the platform in a while. That channel has been abandoned by me personally. I think, yeah, it draws a lot of like younger demographics.
Uh-huh.
So I would assume advertisers that would perform well on Snapchat would be maybe companies that have to do with gaming, things like that. Those can perform well. Pinterest is a good one. I feel like that's still a very relevant and great channel, especially for retail brands,
Yeah.
especially if you're trying to showcase your product usability, right? Because if someone's looking for inspo on Pinterest, why not show them an ad that showcases the utility of your product, right? Let's say if it's a food and beverage company, right? If it's a liquor brand, or if it's like most recently, I have a client who they sell custom engagement rings. So they advertise on Pinterest because people always go on Pinterest for inspo. So it's a very inspo driven platform. And I think if you have the type of product to feed into that, then why not? It's a no brainer. It's always good to diversify your channels.
Yeah. 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 That's really interesting, which brings me to my next question is, what do you think about the TikTok ban? You think it'll be banned, or is it still going to be a relevant platform?
We're talking under the Trump administration. That's, I don't know. That's still TBA. A lot of the marketing communities are trying to see what would happen with under the Trump administration because he's like very passionate about banning a lot of anything to do with China. Really, I really don't know. We've been talking about a TikTok ban for the past over a year already. It hasn't happened yet. It's interesting. I honestly don't have an answer for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Very fascinating. I'm just trying to get the kind of lay of the land. The other question I have for you is, if businesses have already established presence on, let's say they have established presence, like a pretty decent presence on LinkedIn, like the big ones, Instagram, TikTok, like Facebook, Twitter, is it worth it to start going on to chat or Reddit? Is it worth it, or should they just double down on where they're, because you have to start a channel over, it's very tedious.
It depends on what the intent is, right? What are you trying to achieve? What are your goals? If it's to get more like top funnel traffic, or even bottom of the funnel traffic, because a lot of like Reddit has a lot of people asking questions about, oh, do you know anyone who provides X, Y, and Z service, like a reputable brand, right? They're shopping around. They just want to get the opinion of the community, people who are like-minded, following a thread, whatever it is. So I would say it's a great untapped opportunity, which a lot of brands are actually starting to tap into, right? They're posting on these threads, mentioning like certain little, they're making like, they're dropping little Easter eggs about either themselves or someone like maybe a satisfied customer might be commenting on their behalf. I see that as being a great opportunity. Why not? It's not any channel that's not very saturated, but there's a lot of users on there. It's worth a shot. It's called the homepage of the internet for a reason, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's really, really fascinating, just because I know Reddit was just like this bulletin board, but then I know people that just, it's like this chat, but then it became like this kind of community, and we got GameStop and all these interesting, yeah, it's fascinating. I really enjoy. The other question I have for you is, what do you think about people using Chat GPT for search in lieu of search?
ChatGPT for search,
Yeah.
I personally use it all the time.
Yeah.
That and Perplexity. I feel like for research purposes, it is a ton more efficient than you just going and citing article by article,
Yeah.
especially Perplexity. It just pulls from various like reputable sources and just consolidates an answer for you. ChatGPT is great as well. Now it has web access. So you could literally punch in any website and tell it to summarize and give you like bullet points, what it's about, and explain it in like simple terms. It's an awesome tool for research and for search. Yeah, absolutely. I did notice that it pulls a lot of, let's say, if you're looking for certain local based business searches,
Mhm.
that it pulls from Yelp. Interestingly, it doesn't. I don't see it pulling a ton from Google. Let's say best restaurant near me or something. They pull from Yelp because Yelp is a dedicated business directory. So I find people who might have never even heard before just coming up in the search result in ChatGPT and Perplexity.
Yeah, really fascinating.
Yeah. But
Well,
that's a little nugget of information for business owners, right? Focus on your Yelp page.
yeah, interesting. Yeah, it's like these older platforms are starting to gain more interest as the newer platforms that, superseded them have matured as people are going back to these traditional. I wonder if people is going to go back to the Yahoo pages or, uh,
Yeah. There's a serious power shift happening
yeah,
for sure.
yeah. We have around 3 minutes left. Talk about marketing in 2025 and what are the biggest challenges or what should people be paying attention to, thinking about going into the new year?
So yeah, from a paid marketing standpoint, I would say ad costs are only going to rise, right? That's never going to stop. I feel it will, right? Because the way I see it is there are people, I'm hearing people, friends of mine who have businesses, they have went and gone back to traditional mailers, like just mailing out like marketing brochures or pamphlets to people's homes, and they're crushing it with that. It's become like such a unsaturated channel for getting business that
Yeah.
it's like anyone's game at this point. So I
Wow.
feel like when I initially started in digital marketing, it was not that long ago, like 2018. We're talking about like people had their digital budget. They allocated maybe like 10% of their total marketing budget to digital. Now it's gone like up 5, 6 times.
Yeah.
So it's become so saturated that it deviated everyone from the other types of like marketing channels that are out there, like traditional mailers, things of that nature.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I would say explore the areas where there isn't as much saturation, right? Maybe go back to the older ways, right? Like human to human kind of stuff, like actual tangible things that you could give people. And also brand building. Like a lot of people are like, you're a perfect example. You have a podcast. It's starting to get traction. It's become so popular that now you're scheduling out all the way till May or March. I was trying to get a call with you and it wasn't available for anything close to 3 months from now.
Yeah.
So yeah, brand building is a big thing as well. People as early as maybe three years back, where everyone was gung ho about paid ads, like all of that, forget everything else.
Yeah.
And now it's become so saturated that people are now going into the direction of brand building, building a personal brand, or just becoming like more face in the camera. Like people want to, because essentially people buy from people. People
Yeah.
don't buy from companies. Like they want to know who you are, what you have to say, what you sound, what you look like, what is your actual knowledge, what kind of value can you give people?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's how the landscape is really shifting. It's you're buying into personalities now rather than companies.
Mhm. I love that, buying into personalities. Yeah, it's fascinating. We'll have to have you on for part two because there's so much that we didn't talk about YouTube and just so how can people find you and follow you and reach out to you?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Emmanuel Kalashnikov, or Instagram. I'm not very active. Honestly, I'm the worst at social media. So I'm like not very active because I feel like it's a massive distraction. But now I feel times are changing. So I have to actually engage and build like some kind of presence. So yeah, either Instagram, Emmanuel Kalashnikov, or LinkedIn. Those are the two primary channels I'd say that you could find me on.
Yeah.
Not very active, but I'm there.
Yeah.
Or yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, and thanks so much and keep up the great work.
Awesome. You as well, Christopher. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. Happy holidays.
Yeah, you too. Enjoy the